Hello team players. Since me and other creators have already covered teamwork for every class in the game, it's time to get back to my top spells videos. And you guys asked for occult spells. So let's get right into this. So of course we gotta start with cantrips, and we're gonna start with my favorite cantrip of all time, Forbidding War. You target one ally and one enemy within 30 feet. The ally you target gains a +1 status bonus to AC and saves against everything that the targeted enemy can do to them. And you can sustain this spell for up to 1 minute. Heightening this spell to 6th rank makes the bonus +2. And so that means once you can cast 6th rank spells, it's going to be a +2 because it's a cantrip. This spell is actually really good against bosses, or just any single enemy, because you're basically giving your tank or whoever's in melee combat with them, or whoever you want really, a bonus to all their defenses, which is amazing. I still can't believe this is a freaking cantrip. Now let's move on to one of my favorite first rank spells, Phantom Pain. You target one creature within 30 feet who must make a will saving throw. The target takes 2d4 mental damage and 1d4 persistent mental damage for 1 minute, depending on their save. On a success, they take full initial damage but no persistent damage. On a failure, they take full initial and persistent damage, and they're sickened 1. But if they recover from the sickened condition, the spell ends. On a critical failure, it's the same as failure, except they're sickened 2. And every time you heighten the spell by 1 rank, the initial damage increases by 2d4, and the persistent damage increases by 1d4. Another fantastic spell. The sickened condition is really hard to cause. It is one of the rarest conditions in the game. But if you can get it on an enemy, it is fantastic. It basically works exactly like the frightened condition, except it doesn't go down every turn. In order to get rid of it, they have to make a flat check to retch and spend an action, which is just amazing. One of the best first rank spells you can get as an occult caster. It is non-lethal damage, but still, Sicken 1 or Sicken 2 is flat out amazing. For second rank spells, we have Ghoulish Cravings, which is even better. Touch one creature. They must make a will save. If they succeed, they're Sickened 1. If they fail, they're Sickened 2 and can't reduce their sickened condition below 1 until they eat raw meat. If they don't have access to raw meat, they can take a bite out of a corpse as an interact action. On a critical failure, it's the same thing as failure, but they can't reduce it below Sickened 2 without consuming raw meat. Another insane one. It is a touch spell, so you gotta be careful. But if you have reach spell, this is a fantastic one to take. Most enemies are gonna have to take a bite out of a corpse in order to get rid of this, because they won't have access to raw meat. So they have to spend one action eating the corpse, and then another action to retch, which is insane. If you've got a creature that's low on will saves, you absolutely want to cast this on them. Assuming you have reach spell, of course, or you're a build that wants to be in melee. It's a shame this isn't on the arcane list. Otherwise, Megas could take huge advantage of this. Now let's talk about heroism. One of the best buff spells at 3rd rank you can take. You touch one creature and for 10 minutes, they gain a bonus to their attack rolls, perception checks, saving throws, and skill checks. And this does increase as you heighten it. And this is just flat out amazing. Just help one creature hit. If you put this on something like a fighter, and it becomes absolutely insane. Especially when you can cast 9th rank spell. Or even something like a barbarian. Or just anyone, really. If somebody's having trouble hitting, you want to cast this on them. At 4th rank, we come to one of my favorite spells, Mirror's Misfortune. You split yourself into 2. Your real self and an illusory duplicate. When you cast this spell, you seem to split in 2. As you do, you can step into any adjacent square to your initial square. The duplicate appears in your initial square or any adjacent square to that square. You can decide a simple course of action for the duplicate to follow, but complex routines are beyond its abilities. A creature can only distinguish between you and the duplicate by making a perception check against the spell's DC. If any creature takes a hostile action against the duplicate, the illusion shatters into mirror-like shards. The attacker must make a will save with the following effects. On a failure, within the next hour, the creature must roll its next 2 attack rolls twice and take the lower result. On a critical failure, the target must do so on its next 4 attack rolls. This is insane. Giving disadvantage on a bunch of attack rolls is insane, especially in this game. This is one of the best spells you can pick up at 4th rank. Now let's talk about Synesthesia. Target one creature within 30 feet. They must make a will saving throw. Unless they critically succeed, they gain the following effects for at least 1 round. They must succeed a DC 5 flat check each time it wants to use a concentrate action or the action is wasted. All creatures and objects are concealed to it, and it's clumsy 3 and gives it a minus 10 foot status penalty to its speeds. On a success, this effect lasts for 1 round. On a failure, it lasts for 1 minute. On a critical failure, it lasts for 1 minute, and the target is stunned 2 as it attempts to process these sensory shifts. And at 9th rank, you can target up to 5 creatures. This is an insane one because it basically makes bosses completely useless. I mean, Clumsy 3 is literally minus 3 to AC, which is just huge. And it's got to make a flat check anytime Wesley wants to do anything, which is nuts. Whether it's a concentrate action or anything else, really. And on that critical failure, Stun 2 is just amazing. And this doesn't even have the incapacitation traits, which means it does work well on bosses. So yeah, definitely use this on the boss if you can get up to 5th rank spells. At 6th rank, we have Zealous Conviction. Target up to 10 willing creatures within 30 feet. For 10 minutes, they gain 12 temporary hit points and plus 2 status bonus to their will save against mental effects. If you tell the target to do something, they must do it, except if they would normally find the task repugnant, they can make a will save to not do it and end the spell. This spell is insane because giving 10 people 12 temporary hit points is already nuts. And then, you know, the bonus to will saves, mental effects are actually a lot more common than you think they are. So this is a fantastic spell to cast on the party. And it lasts for 10 minutes, which means you can cast this at the beginning of a combat and it'll last for a while. Now we come to Prismatic Armor. You touch one willing creature and give it armor made of light. This functions as chromatic armor, except that it is all colors. So, it gives resistance 5 to acid, electricity, fire, force, mental, poison, and sonic. An attacker that critically fails on his saving throw against the spell is blinded rather than dazzled. So not only does this give resistance to basically all elements, except for vitality and void, but after they attack the target, they may have to make a will save. And if they fail, they are blinded, which is amazing. I highly recommend you pick this up at rank 7, if you get that far. At level 8, we have Spirit Song. All creatures in a 60-foot cone must make a fortitude saving throw against 14d6 spirit damage. The song penetrates solid objects, but doesn't go through them. So, you can damage incorporeal creatures hiding in objects, but you can't damage creatures in other rooms. On a success, the target takes half damage and can't use reactions until the start of its next turn. On a failure, they take full damage and can't use reactions, and are stunned 1. On a critical failure, they take double damage, are stunned 2, and can't take reactions. And every time you heighten the spell by 1 rank, the damage increases by 2d6. Another insane one. I mean, a 60-foot cone is absolutely insane range. And when you can actually cast this spell, getting rid of their reactions is nuts. And if they fail or critically fail, they're stunned, which is absolutely insane. Just get rid of 1 or 2 of their actions for a round. That's nuts. And you're doing good damage on top of this. Actually kind of insane how good this spell is. At rank 9, we have Unfathomable Song. You can target up to 5 creatures within 120 feet. They must attempt a will save when you cast the spell, and each time you sustain it every round. They only need to make 1 save per round, and you have to keep the same targets when you sustain the spell. On a critical success, they're unaffected and temporarily immune for 1 minute. On a success, they're unaffected this round, but can be affected on subsequent rounds. On a failure, roll 1d4 on the following table, which I'm about to show you. On a critical failure, roll 1d4 plus 1 on the table. If you roll a 1, the target is frightened 2. If you roll a 2, they're confused for 1 round. 3, they're stupefied 4 for 1 round. On 4, they're blinded for 1 round. And if you get that 5 on a critical failure, the target is stunned for 1 round and stupefied 1 for an unlimited duration. These are all pretty darn good. I mean, you're either stopping them from attacking you, or you're lowering at least some of their stats. And remember, you can keep this up every round, which means they're going to be debuffed for a while, especially if they have low will saves. This is definitely a spell to pick up. It doesn't matter what you roll, really. If you have the right party, this spell is insane. And for 10th rank, we have Shadow Army. You create dozens of semi-real shadow clones of yourself in a 50-foot burst within 500 feet. You can hide and sneak among these clones. This lasts for 1 minute. Any enemy that is in the area or ends its turn in the area might take mental and bludgeoning damage and is possibly inflicted with a condition that you choose when you cast the spell, depending on the result of their will save. You can choose Clumsy 2, Enfeebled 2, Flat-footed, or Slowed 1. So at a critical success, they take no damage. And for the duration of the spell, when the creature rolls a save, it gets 1 step better than what it would normally get. And it can distinguish you from your clones without difficulty. On a success, they take half damage. On a failure, they take full damage and gain the chosen condition. On a critical failure, they take double damage and gain the chosen condition. This is insane, especially if you're a class that wants to sneak around. You can sneak around in your clones, which is already amazing, and you're dealing damage, and you're inflicting a condition of your choice. This is definitely worth a 10th level spell slot. By far. One of the best spells at this level for an occult cast. It's even available to arcane casters, but it's better for occult casters for sure. If you guys enjoyed this video, you may like this other video where I go over arcane spells. And make sure you check out the description below for other ways to support me as a creator. Thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, teamwork is vital. It helps us solve problems.